Little did we know that we would explode by 3x in the first 22 days that we were there. And it turned into oh, this is a fun experiment to, oh my gosh, there are a ton of people in here. Whenever you step into any type of new venture that involves investing, you want to make sure you can get all the research that you need. So our job is to provide as many of those resources as possible.
All right, guys, what's going down? And welcome back to the Beat the Banks podcast. Today's show is a little bit different. You've probably already guessed that by looking at the title. There is no David today. It's myself and one of our coaches. In fact, he's our head coach. He's our client success director. And that is Chris Soriano. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing well, James. How are you doing today?
Amazing, dude. Amazing. It's a great day here in Portugal. It's sunny. You've just told me that you've just put the kids... no, you've not put them to bed. They're still asleep. At what time?
It's about 9:15 in the morning, so we should probably be a little quieter.
Wow. So for all the parents out there, I bet you're applauding Chris right now for whatever he's done to keep his kids asleep for so long. But maybe we can talk about it today. But more importantly, let's talk about yield farming. So the aim of today, really, guys, is to understand Chris a little bit more. Because Chris, like I said, he is our client success director. He's the main man when it comes to what we do with the yieldfarming.com mastermind. He is part of the brain juice that goes into the amazing company that we've built. So I thought it'd be cool to interview him so you can understand more about the man himself and ultimately what he's doing right now in yield farming and go from there. So Chris, man, let's just start by talking a little bit about your journey into yield farming. How did it all start? What was your technical background, should we say, before you even got into it? And then we'll talk a little bit more about where it's taken you and what you're focused on today.
Yeah, by trade, I'm an IT professional. I've been a programmer and just in the IT industry doing various jobs for more than 20 years. I was an analyst at one point. So I've worn a lot of hats. I've also been a salesperson, worked in marketing. I've done a lot of things. I'm also a university professor on the side as well. I actually teach actual university students, not necessarily yield farming university, but an actual university. So helping people and just being a part of people's journeys as they learn concepts has been something that's been specific to a lot of my job for a lot of my life, actually. So getting into yield farming was about a year and a half ago for sure, was just a hobby. I actually saw a video or two. I've been holding, Bitcoin for quite some time, as well as Ethereum or ETH. And I saw a video it was a challenge where someone was trying to farm 10,000 Matic in 30 days. And I was just like, well, what's that? And why would you need to farm it? And bless his heart, he actually, just for the gimmick of it all, because he was talking about being a yield farmer, he actually wore a farming hat and held a rake in his left hand during the video for the entire time, all 13 minutes of it. And I just thought, I was like, this is ridiculous, but for whatever reason, it got me. And I'm one of those people that if you get me in the right demographic, I'll remember everything. And he used a couple of yield farms on the Polygon blockchain back when it was just Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, or BNB chain now, and Polygon, what used to be called Matic back then. And he did it. He farmed it in less than 22 days, actually. And it didn't dawn on me after the first watch. Then I realized this guy just made actual digital money. And at the time, Matic was about $1.60, I'm saying. I want to say. So when I looked, and he was using Aave as his bank. And then he talked about how we are our own bank. And it all just kind of came together. I was like, this is unreal. And nobody knows about it. So I did a ton of research, got obsessed, like most people who get into yield farming. I reached out to him, actually. Ended up being one of his original community moderators. And that's pretty much how my life into DeFi, at least, got started in terms of yield farming. So yeah, that's pretty much how that all started. That was about a year ago that I reached out to him and became one of his first moderators. And we built a community of yield farmers from, rough. I was there in his first, I want to say 2,000 YouTube subscribers. And we built it to now, I think there's about 5K in the actual community version. He also has a paid version, but yeah, it's been an amazing learning experience, meeting all kinds of people. In fact, Coach Jangle and Coach Andrew were a part of that community at some point. So our paths crossed before we actually ended up here. So it's amazing that it can be a small world in DeFi, and yeah, it's been an amazing journey. So that's pretty much my crypto and yield farming journey in a nutshell.
Love it, man. And we'll get into a little bit more about what you're focused on right now in a second. But if I don't ask this question, I can see it in the comments right now, which is, why did you make the switch across to yieldfarming.com?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So it's kind of, I believe that, things are meant to happen, right? You can make your own luck, but I don't think anything happens by chance. I think things are meant to happen. I actually had put out into the universe, mainly because I'd been doing yield farming on the side and just crypto investing for the last couple of years. I wanted to work in this industry, specifically as a blockchain engineer. I wanted to build smart contracts. I have a programming background and I teach software development. So in particular, I was supremely excited to be a part of this community and, figure out, what can I do to just really be a part of it. So I wanted to be a blockchain engineer, and that was my goal, to do so by the end of the year. Sometime around, I want to say as early as June, someone from the team at yieldfarming.com reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, we're looking at building a community. Is that something you might be interested in?" And at the time, I was, super obsessed with just learning how to yield farm, and I was, for the most part, still busy at what we call our fiat collector job. I was building a huge customer service portal, and I just didn't have the time to really process what that all meant. So I was like, "Oh no, not at this time. Hopefully that works out for you guys." And then suddenly they hit me up a couple of times, actually, this person, and he actually got back to me in September. He's like, "Hey, we're actually changing some focus on some things. Would you like to help us build a community like what you have there?" And I was like, "Okay, you said the right things this time." And it just happened. It just so happened I just put out a couple of applications for blockchain engineering. One at OpenSea, the big NFT network, and at a couple other places. And so he set me out with David, and David and I had a quick chat. He's like, "Hey, I'm building something here. I just wanted to see if you could check it out. Actually, we're looking for someone right now to just help us write some analyst reports. Give us their opinion on what they see in the market." I'm like, "Sure, I can do that." And then so he got me into Circle, and then I just talked with a couple of the investors because he asked me to answer a couple questions if I could, and I guess the rest is kind of history.
Love that, man. So if I'm understanding this correctly right now, the other, what did you call it? What was the name for your traditional job?
My fiat collector job?
Your fiat collector job is
or just being in programming?
Now full-time,
as an IT developer.
You're full-time CSD, client success director here at yieldfarming.com, right?
Yeah, David's a very convincing guy. Actually, he just laid it out, and he just like, "Well, what can we do to get you here?" And I thought about it, and I was like, so basically he's going to give me a job doing something I obsess about as a hobby, and I'll be able to continue to yield farm full time and help other people learn how to yield farm. And for me, with my educator background and just my nature, I'm just someone who likes to fix problems and help others learn. It was a no-brainer. I talked to my wife about it, and it's funny when you talk to what we call normies about this, and she just looked at me. She's like, "So you're doing what? This is with your plants that you do, right? Your crop thing?" And I was just like, "Well, yeah, it's a little bit more than that." She's like, "Is it real? Is this all a scam? I read on the news that some of this is a scam." I'm like, "No, it's not a scam." She obviously doesn't feel that way anymore, but it took a little bit of talking to my wife because, when you're in a situation where you know the life that you're kind of signing up for. And I think this is something that she wasn't quite expecting. And there's a leap of faith, I think, when you take a journey into something that really has not a lot of knowledge to it. But yeah, we've definitely turned the corner, and yeah, it's great.
Love that.
But what we've built here is amazing.
So let's talk about that. That's exactly where I was going with the next question. It's like, how has yieldfarm.com changed as a mastermind, as an education platform since you came in? Like, what are some of the things that you've been focused on? What are some of the outcomes that you've been looking to deliver towards the clients? Like, what really gets your juices flowing?
The biggest change was in the beginning. We just had the university course, or what's now called David's Low-Risk Case Study, which is a fantastic look into a really good way to yield farm in a bull market, which is delta neutral farming. So we just had that, and we just had the Circle community. So part of my priority when I first got there was to create as many guides as possible. We had a lot of people who took the course, and they're like, "Okay, well, what now?" And we just need a little bit more I guess, trajectory. So it's just some more application of theory. So that's where I came in. That's where the cohort started. Myself and Coach Zach were the first two coaches that were on staff. And we built out the cohorts. We started these 8-week programs to really just help anybody who needed that extra help in understanding the concepts get there. Because I think that was the one thing that we definitely realized, is that, with the 100 people that were around when we first got in, we definitely needed them to stick around. We wanted them to be knowledgeable. We wanted them to know all the concepts so that they could be, I like to use the word raving fans. And essentially, we wanted them to be cheerleaders for us, saying, oh, this program is great. I've learned this, this, and this. Little did we know that we would explode by 3x in the first 22 days that we were there. And it turned into oh, this is a fun experiment, to, oh my gosh, there are a ton of people in here. And it was very much a reactionary process for the next probably 90 days, I want to say. Just building cohorts, having feedback loops, figuring out what people need to learn, getting everybody in a standardized way of learning, having an intermediate track. That happened about 2 weeks after we started the beginner track. I created an intermediate cohort specifically for helping farmers learn what the right mindset is when it comes to yield farming. When they're trying to filter through alpha and figure out, what's good alpha, what's bad alpha, what's the right way to look at it, entrance and exit strategies, things that we talk about now in beginner cohort, but definitely at that time was more focused on the fundamentals in the beginner cohort. So yeah, there's just been a lot of changes, and now we have University 2.0 that you can certainly check out when you join the private mastermind, about how we have a lot of our journey that we've had for the last 6 months now broken down into one fantastic course that was actually filmed by all 5 of us on staff. So it's been an interesting journey. We went from having, a mastermind talking about a really awesome concept that David kind of stumbled upon with his background, and then turning it into a gigantic educational set of modules around that concept and building a community on top of that. Now that people know who we are, now that we're the most successful mastermind in all of DeFi, now it's all about what's next. And what I think that's going to be is to become the premier brand of education in all of DeFi to the rest of the world. Oof. I know, right?
I'm not sure if we should be sharing much more than that.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
but...
Yeah, I'm just saying for me personally, I would love to just take what we have here and figure out the ways to expand that.
Yeah. So we get this question a lot when people want to come into the world of DeFi and get the education, because there's the guys who are watching this show right now are either in one or two camps. Typically, one, you're brand new to DeFi, you're scared about the risks. Like you said, your wife, she's like, is that legal? Is that safe? Is that dangerous? You're probably in that camp over there, and that's obviously where the mastermind comes in with the beginner cohorts to get you up to speed. But then the flip side of this is the more experienced yield farmer who's looking for the cutting edge alpha. And if I'm hearing you correctly, what you've basically done when you've come in, one of the main things you've focused on is being able to deliver yield farming advice, whether that's alpha, security, whatever it is, for all different levels of yield farmers, different expertise of yield farmers. Is that kind of what I'm hearing right now?
Yeah, exactly. So what we wanted to do was to build that bridge between the level of concept where David's course, started, all the way to pretty much just picking up, turning on the computer and looking at a centralized exchange or looking at your own bank account, starting that pipeline from point A to point B. So that's pretty much what we've aimed to build. We wanted to, obviously we can't give financial advice. That's not the goal. Our goal is to empower everybody who comes across our content to make the right decisions. And I think that, whenever you step into any type of new venture that involves investing, you want to make sure you can get all the research that you need. So our job is to provide as many of those resources as possible. I think it would be a disservice to the majority of our mastermind if we didn't have that. And for the most part, we've given that and much more.
Yep.
And yeah, I think we have a lot of happy customers, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree as well. You can go across the Trustpilot and you can just see the wall of testimonials that people have got there. I think we're 4.8 stars or something like that, which is, for a coaching business, especially in the finance niche, is incredible to have that kind of results. And that is just, again, showing what the coaches have been doing, what you've been doing, the rest of your team have been doing, just been delivering value upon value, just stacking value, just like you stack yield as well. And that's kind of where I want to go next, is talking a little bit about Chris as a yield farmer, because we get this question a lot from people when they speak to our team. We have an advisory team. And if you guys are curious and you want to speak to our advisory team and find out if the mastermind is a good fit for you, or if it's a case of joining the Beat the Banks group or getting some more free information, you can hit the link in the show notes now, or you can go across to www.yieldfarming.com/show, and that will take you directly to the application page where you can apply to actually jump on an advisory call. And then if it fits and it makes sense for you, then of course we can talk about actually joining the mastermind, and Chris will welcome you in with a big hug, let's say, and maybe a kiss. Who knows? Depends what mood he's in.
Let's start with the fist bump. We'll start the fist bump.
Still COVID compliant. That's what we're talking about. Anyway, so one of the things we get when those people do get to that stage is, what are the coaches doing? Like, can I just follow their moves? And that's a question we get a lot. So Chris, I'd love for you just to explain to the listeners a little bit about your process when it comes to how you're finding hot alpha, and how you're also sharing that with the community so people can follow along with your journey.
I'm glad you asked that question, because we actually created a weekly roundup call. And this happens every Wednesday with the mastermind at 12 Eastern today, actually. And the main goal of that was to not only give a lot of alpha to our mastermind base, but also let them know what our movements have been over the past week. Like literally week by week, we'll tell you what we're doing. This was actually in response to some feedback we got, because one thing that you get when you join the mastermind is you get David's wallet. You get a link to see what his moves are on a weekly basis. And for the longest time, that was great. A lot of people got to see all the great moves that our CEO and co-founder were able to make to find his success in this realm. But then we realized quickly that people want to know what we were doing. So essentially that's really what we use that call for. And that's essentially how I get a lot of my alpha, to be quite honest, in doing the research for the call that we do over the weekend in the first part of the week. I have quite a bit of my staff that helps out, just coming up with anything new that we find. We actually, because of how much the mastermind has grown, we actually now get a lot of our alpha from our users. So the weekly roundup call is not only just a call that outlines how we move from week to week and finding any new alpha that we can drop, but we also highlight posts from people within our community, mainly because it's meant to be more of what originally was just a post on Circle once a week is now a complete podcast show.
Yep.
To be quite honest. And we start off the first 40 minutes going over great posts that we found in Circle with regards to wins that people have, alpha that people find. We talk about, and we correlate that with any other coach posts that we have that we want people to see, because we recognize that for most people, the best alpha they can get is that call with us on a weekly basis, because let's say they don't do this full time. They have families, a 9-to-5 job. They don't have as much time as they would like to do full-time yield farming. The original idea I thought for this was kind of based off what we call a lunch and learn, where you have these seminars that you can take over your lunch. And it's about an hour, it's during the lunchtime hour, and then you just, grab something to eat and sit down and watch us. And I have this delusion of grandeur that there are people who are out there that sit there on their phones, in the break room, eating their lunch, listening to our weekly roundup. And if that's the case, that's so awesome. That's exactly what I was envisioning.
I don't think it's delusions of grandeur. I think it is actually reality. It is
That's
truly
amazing.
what is happening. And
it's amazing.
It's great because it's something that you've brought over from the traditional world of education, which, as you already mentioned earlier in the show, is something that you have in your background. And you brought it into the world of DeFi. And I think people really appreciate it. And again, another question we get a lot from people is, how am I going to have enough time to do my job? How am I going to have enough time to do the research, actually move my money and funds around from farm to compound, to do all this stuff? And for me personally, I've told you this before, Chris, it's the first place I go each week. It's literally on my agenda. It's in my calendar each week to go and watch the weekly roundup, because it's just such an action-packed, curated hour of where do I need to go right now, or not me, let's not say where do I need to go, but what are the coaches looking at right now, and the community as well. And I just want to expand on this point, because we often get asked, why on earth are we doing this? If David has such a successful background as a professional poker player, real estate, all this kind of stuff, why are we doing this? And I'd just love to expand on this idea that the more brains we have, the more people who have got their eyeballs on the world of DeFi, everyone can win. So I'd love to just expand on that a little bit, and how the clients have grown inside of the mastermind program, and how they're actually delivering quality alpha every single week now. Yeah,
it's amazing to see just their growth. And when we try and talk to people who are curious about the mastermind, the one thing that I tell people is it's overwhelming. Of course, there's information overload at the beginning. getting them out of that funk in the beginning of just, total confusion, because we always say confusion equals money. The people that are going to look at this and walk through that confusion, figure out how to critically think and get past everything, they're the ones who are making the money. Most people will look at this and say, that's way too much work. Why would I ever want to, put that much brain juice into this, until they realize that once they get the fundamentals down and get everything set up, quickly and easily, you can absolutely do this with a full-time job. I mean, myself, to speak to my own personal experience, building all of this is not a quick process. I've put in a lot of hours getting all this off the ground, along with my fellow coaching staff and everyone behind the scenes. The best part for me was to take advantage of any type of research I had available, thanks to everyone in Circle. The great part about certain yield farms, we have what are called auto compounders, which are literal set it and forget it type farms. They take care of all of the harvesting for you. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to look at your position once or twice per day in what we call a dashboard application. It takes some time in the beginning to understand what that means and understand how to make that work for you. But once you do, you can make yield farming maybe a 2 to 5 hour process per week. To most people, that's just as good, if not better, than what you see in traditional investing, or being on the stock market or something like that, where you're just looking at charts every now and then, like, oh, where's my position at? You can certainly tailor your experience in crypto to get to that point. It does take a little bit of setup in the beginning, but once you get past that portion, then I think it's good. One thing I also tell people is to just give us 30 days. In the first 30 days in our cohorts, you're going to learn all of the concepts you're going to need to know fundamentally about what yield farming and decentralized finance is. You're going to learn how to create an investment plan and an allocation to organize your capital, because in this world, you are your own bank. And we're going to give you the key, we're going to show you how to use the keys to your crypto, as we like to call it, to just create a plan that works for you. And you're going to learn about all the different types of yield farm mechanisms that are out there and how to deploy all your funds. In the first 30 days, you're going to go from not knowing a whole lot and being in a nice group of 15 to 20 people in your cohort, all the way to having all that knowledge at your fingertips within the first 30 days. And that's tremendously powerful. And we have some mentoring we just started. We have all kinds of resources to help you succeed within those first 30 days. To me, that's probably been the most dramatic growth, is just seeing how much, when the light bulb turns on for the majority of our investors in these cohorts within the first 14 to 21 days. And then now they're like, now I just need more. I need to know more. And I see them showing up at anything that we do. We could have a Zoom call where we read the phone book, and they'd probably show up and enjoy it. And I love seeing people who turn into sponges for this stuff. Obviously, you don't want to get too obsessed about yield farming, but you want to make it so that you work smarter, not harder.
Yep, that's the whole goal of yield farming. It's for us anyway. And if you guys have watched the earlier episodes of the Beat Banks podcast, you'll see David talks about this. He talks about why he created this. So please go and watch those episodes. But one of the big reasons was he wanted to escape the traditional investing trading model of having to watch charts all day, every day, wake up in the middle of the night when charts hit certain points. It's just too stressful. And that's really what we're teaching our guys as well. So yield farming is a fantastic tool. And like I said, if you guys do want to actually go and apply, you can do that. The links are down below. But if not, Chris, we have a pretty awesome free group, because I'm sure people are watching this right now and they'd love to know, how can they get more of Chris? How can they get more of Chris's brain juice without necessarily joining the mastermind right now? If you're not ready for that, that's cool. So where should the guys be going, and what are you delivering there?
Yeah, so that's our Beat the Banks group. And I think the call with the sales team can certainly help direct you to that platform. And what we've created there is a fantastic community, thousands of people who watch a specific group of trainings tailored towards them, because I realize in that case, they're going to be looking at all kinds of YouTube videos, trying to make sense of everything. And we've put together a really comprehensive set of first foundational videos that includes a couple series that we have in the mastermind. For example, one called a 3-episode grouping called The Fundamentals of DeFi. And then we put together 5 specific trainings with specific concepts to help guide people on that first road. I think confidence is probably the one thing that we're building in that platform. It's a lot of a slower burn, because we want to make sure everybody understands how to make it work. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that we're definitely going to be learning together. That's kind of the slogan that I've been using: learn together. We have a wide variety of people who are in Beat the Banks that are going to make it an amazing community to learn and for everyone to get involved in, regardless of how much you have to invest, whether it be $10 or $10,000.
Love it, man. So as always, guys, the links are in the show notes. So go across to yieldfarming.com/show, and there should be two options on that page for you. One is to go ahead and join Beat the Banks, which is the free group that Chris has just talked about. Tons of training, better than just sitting here on YouTube trying to piece together all these different jigsaws, hoping that you finally get the full picture, which is very, very challenging to do in the world of DeFi. So go across there and you can get some structured education. And then, like I said as well, if you are someone who wants to take the fast track, who wants to have Chris and the team in your back pocket every single day, then you want to go across and hit the same link, and you'll be able to apply for the mastermind, and we can go from there. So that's all the options right now. Chris, is there any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Just excited to be a part of this journey, just to see how this has grown just in the last 60 days, even since the beginning of the year. We still are completely very positive. When you join the mastermind, a lot of people are very surprised at how positive everybody is in the face of, honestly, is kind of a pretty chaotic world right now, both geopolitically, socially, and financially. I get people all the time who say, hey, are you? I know you're in crypto. Are you really worried about this whole, so and so? Yeah, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, man. My portfolio's never been better because we're yield farming, we're compounding, and we're just making all the right decisions. Yeah, and I think this is, like we tell people all the time, we're still early. We still haven't even seen the whole explosion of what's going to become this new NFT utility and GameFi revolution, where people are going to be, starting, the play to earn games, and also the metaverse, if you've heard that term, where you're going to be. I think DeFi is going to be the place where we're going to have the future of how we do business. I fully believe that.
It's so exciting. It's
amazing.
Exciting. It's amazing.
I can tell that you're shaking right there, James. You're just shaking with excitement about what's coming up.
There's so much happening. There is literally so much happening, and there's so much going on this podcast as well. So, Chris, thank you for today. I really want the guys to go across to, as I said, yieldfarming.com/show and join the Beat the Banks group if you're not there already. You can check out all Chris's trainings. But there's going to be more shows coming out. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll have another one with another one of our coaches, and then another one of the coaches, and even more cool stuff planned. So, Chris, thank you so much for today. It's been amazing. And I'll see you inside the community. Ciao.
Take care, everyone.